All right, everybody, we are here with our first ever two-time guest. Please welcome back to the podcast, Shannon Hall from Dustbane. Welcome, Shannon.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for having us. I guess it's the first time actually we get to do this podcast in 2021. So that's pretty exciting that we've moved off of the energy of 2020 and now we've got a whole new year and a whole bunch of different things to talk about.
This is so true. Now, with the year 2020, I think me personally and a lot of people, we learned a lot about Jan-San, cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting, things that we never would have learned if it wasn't for this pandemic. Now, the one thing that's really caught my attention is floor hygiene and cleaning floors. Seems to be the one thing people don't consider as much of a necessity or as important as it is to clean other options. So we're going to be talking about some floor scrubbers today. We're going to talk about some hygiene with Shannon, because if you guys remember the last time she was here, there is literally an endless supply of things that Dustbane can help you with. So we're going to kind of pinpoint it down a little bit more. So Shannon, why don't you give us a little some stats and some information about why it is so important to clean your floors and kick the mop and bucket?
Perfect. That's a great starting point. I think you're absolutely right, Caitlin. If we were to take a step back and think about 2020, how many of us learned things about cleaning that we never thought that we'd ever need to know, want to know, and are now curious about new pieces of information that are coming available as we move through these times and start really thinking about our facilities a little bit differently than we probably ever have. And you're absolutely right. Floor care has been one of those areas that was very prominent many, many years ago when the shine off of your floor was so critical to most facilities and most businesses. As we started to shift through time, floor care really started to change. And part of the reason is as new buildings are going into place and different types of floor surfaces are going down, you've got a lot of floors that claim to be maintenance free. There's nothing that's really truly maintenance free. Or you've got different technologies that's going into those floor surfaces, and you really need to know a little bit more about not only the floor surface that you're dealing with, but what type of equipment, the right type of chemicals, and the various different applications that you need in order not just to keep that floor clean, but certainly now to keep it bacteria free and free of germs and viruses. So we're hearing more and more from customers that have been used to using that mop and bucket that say, you know what, those days are gone. I need to find a better way. So some of the stats that we have are customers like private schools that have used a mop and bucket for years in some of their classrooms and have identified areas of opportunity to drive cost out of their business. We had a great case study with one of the schools here locally that was spending 2.5 hours twice a day times 2 custodial workers on their floors. Well, that labor at roughly about $25 an hour with benefits, that's going to cost them about $29,000 a year of just mop and bucket. Well, that's a lot of time spent and a lot of dollars spent to not get the results that you truly want to have, and then have the idea that you're spreading bacteria all around that floor. We've got to find some different ways to do that. So the Micro 5 for them was able to save them $14,000 a year in labor, and they could purchase 2 Micro 5s. That's a great cost savings that they're able to bring back to their board to say, look, we're doing things a little bit differently, but here's how we're putting money back into a budget where they're strapped for cash. There's not a lot of dollars going back into these school boards for this application as they've had to change and revert their technology and their spend to having students working from home right now or having teachers working remotely. That has extended their budgets very differently than they typically would have in the past. So some really great ideas and examples as to how we can just change up what someone's doing and save them a lot of time and money.
Now that's awesome to hear, especially we've been talking about that a lot as well when it comes to cleaning, upgrading instead of wiping and spraying everything, upgrading to things like Victory Sprayer, the Micro 5 for your floors. It's a very good point to make how important is your time to you, because we can help not only save you your time so that you or your employees can focus on more mundane tasks, but then at the same time, you could also just sit and have 10 minutes to do nothing now in the day and just relax.
Right? Don't we all need those breaks? I think if 2020 has shown us nothing, that little bit of mental break is very, very important in your day. It's been a stressful time, and we're we're hoping that we're here to help you ease some of that pain and stress.
Exactly. Now, one of my favorite things that we talked about last time you were on the podcast was the benefit of a product like the Micro 5. Now,
Yeah.
we also mentioned just the only time you use a mop and bucket that fresh, clean water and product hits the floor is your first mop. Because after that, every time you're wringing your mop out and you're putting it back in the bucket, all the dirt, the soil, the virus, the bacteria, the germs on the floor are now in your water that you're now putting back on your floor. So these guys like the Micro 5 really, really, really blow my mind and shows me how much Dustbane is listening and paying attention to how to change the industry.
Absolutely. So now you have fresh water going down on the floor, and you've got fresh cleaner going down every single time, picking up all that soil and putting that back in the recovery tank. And that's the beauty of using any type of auto scrubber or micro dryer like you have with the Micro 5. You've got some larger size areas that you might need to take care of. You can move on up to a few other sizes. So if the Micro 5 doesn't quite suit all of your needs, then perhaps moving into the 450 is something else that you could look at. That is one of the top selling auto scrubbers in Canada. When you look at our spaces, a 20-inch auto scrubber is just about perfect for most of our customer spaces. Although we are going to have some of those larger opportunities where they need to go into something like our Labrador series. So our Labrador series is really exciting. We'll get into that a little bit later. We've got a few different styles here that can give you some other ways that you can drive cost out of your floor care program. And I'm so excited to share that with the PBJ team today, especially since they're now becoming one of our service centers in Listowel, and we'll be able to service that equipment for you to make sure that it's kept in top shape.
Exactly. Now, Carter's got an eye for that. He's been making sure he's taken all the courses. He's going to be here to help fix all of your Dustbane products, make sure that regular maintenance is done on them as well to make sure everything's working in tip-top shape the way it should be. So that's always good to know. Now, what if I want something like the Micro 5, but I'm not a big facility and I don't have a big janitor's sink or a big janitorial closet to store it?
You know, that is the beauty of the Micro 5. You're kind of nailing it. With the 5-liter tank, you've got a really easily accessible little tank on the front that's got, as I mentioned, 5-liter capacity on it. So you can actually remove this. I'm just going to push this down here so we can get at it. But by popping off the tank, you can fill this up. That's my recovery tank. And this one's full. So you got a nice little 5-liter tank here that you'd be able to fill in any sink. So really nice and low profile. So if you have some of those older style sinks like we've got here at Dustbane, you can just go in, fill that up under your tap, put in the right amount of chemical. We've got so many different ones like Film Away for this time of year that is really great fit that you'd be able to do that and access those easy areas. And then for the recovery tank, again, nice and compact, really easy to use. So you can remove the top. It's disgusting in there because we just did these floors and we'd walk across them. So we want to make sure that that gets cleaned out. You've got a little piece on the end to help you with just removing that and getting rid of any of your dirty soiled water. So you can clean that out and keep it running nice and perfect for your team.
Now, one of the nice things, Shannon, that I see here with almost all the equipment that I can see there on the floor, no extension cords are needed and there's no power cords.
Well, there are some power cords, you just can't see them. So you need to have some power in order to be able to recharge those batteries. So you've got different run times on each machine. The Micro 5 is going to keep you going for about 55 minutes, unless you buy the extended battery, which will take you to 75 minutes. So always a great option if you do need to get a little bit more run time. The rest of our series carries our DDX batteries, and our DDX batteries are really designed by Dustbane and our team to make sure that you get just a little bit more out of your battery and a little bit longer life out of them. So that's what you'll see in the rest of our Hurricane and our Labrador series, as well as our rallies. And they've been a really nice fit for our customers. You do need to plug them in, but they all plug into a 110 volt, so you're good to go there. You want to make sure with batteries, though, that you really truly understand how to charge a battery. It sounds really simple. Plug it in the wall, right? Not always that simple. If you have not let your battery drain down, what you're doing is you're putting that charge on that cycle and you're removing one of those cycles from the battery. So shortening the lifespan every time you plug that in. Think that you're using one cycle of your battery and your battery lifespan is starting to compact. So you really want to make sure that you allow your equipment to get the right runtime, allow it to rest, just like a swimmer. If you eat before you go swimming, you need to take that 30 minutes before you jump in the water. Your battery is no different. You want to let it expand as it's working and then cool down and then be ready for charging.
No, that's awesome. I never knew that. I knew about things like you don't want to leave the battery on the charger too long once it's full, or
Yep.
don't keep charging it. Like, think about people who always put gas in their car when it's at half tank. Oh, it's at half a tank. I got to put gas in. Every time your battery is at half, you don't need to keep recharging it. So
That's
different
right.
things like that are good to know, because there's your money saver. You're not going to have to be buying new batteries all the time. They're not going to fry out on you. So that's a really good piece of knowledge there.
Yeah, it's the best way to get longevity out of your batteries. They're not inexpensive to replace. So you want to make sure, just as you're maintaining your squeegees and doing your preventative maintenance on any of your pieces of equipment, you want to think about the lifespan of your battery. Too many people think of their batteries for their auto chargers or their auto scrubbers exactly the same as a smart charger that they have for their cell phone. So you plug in your cell phone every night, or as it runs down halfway through the day, you plug that in. Don't do that with your auto scrubber, because all you're doing is killing that battery much faster. So you want to make sure that you let it drain down to about that 20% mark. Then you can plug it in, let it come up to a full charge, give it about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour to let it rest, and then you're ready to start operating.
Perfect. Now, what if I work in an industry that I have very, very large open factory floors, maybe gymnasiums, arenas, and stuff like that, and I'm going to need a little bit of a help pushing machines like that? What kind of options are there in the Dustbane machines?
Well, there's some really great different options, Caitlin. And again, you just nailed it when you said a gym floor versus a factory. They're two totally different floor surfaces. They've got different areas in which you might be filling your auto scrubber. One of the number one things that we see happen is folks that say, I've got 100,000 square feet of cleaning area. But what they forget is you may have a 100,000 square foot warehouse, but you probably only have 50,000 square feet of cleaning area because you've got racking or you've got other things in those areas. But the number one thing that most people forget is, where am I going to fill this and where am I going to empty it? Because if that doorway is a different size than my machine, you may never be able to get it out of that room. Lesson learned. Always find out where the doors are and what size they are to make sure that your machine is going to fit in and out of those areas where you need to dump your used water or refill it with your clean fluid.
That's good. Or someone might pull a Kool-Aid man and just bust through the wall with the machine and look, I made it fit.
Exactly. We've seen all kinds of makeshift ways that people have had to recover from when they haven't put that into consideration. So you did ask about the machines and how easy it is to move around. You've got a number of different machines that are self-driving, so they're going to help you with some traction in there so that you're not having to put a lot of pressure on you. The 450 is a great one. It's going to move very easily for you. It's not something that's very heavy that you have to push. Or you could take a look at what a lot of the school boards really love and customers where they have a return to work program, something like our Rally Series. So we've got our Rally Series in a 21 inch, 24. This one is a 28 inch. And what that allows them to do is really get those folks that may be on a return to work program and maybe assigned to a desk duty that wouldn't be able to walk behind an auto scrubber, have a role where they can sit down and they can still be doing all the cleaning and maintenance that needs to be done without putting some of that strain on some of those areas like their back if they had a slip, trip, or fall, or if they needed to find a way to return to work. This is a great way to keep those folks employed and moving forward as they come back and start to re-energize their regular duties.
Now that's awesome to hear, because then even when I'm looking at the smaller ones over here next to the Micro 5, I see a lot of ergonomic work as well put into it. I see adjustable handles. I see some compactability with these guys.
Yeah, so this one just came out of the box, so it's still a little bit of tight, needs a little bit of regular work, but you can see that you can change the height to suit the needs of the individual that's using the machine, because everybody operates at different heights. So that makes it just very flexible. And from an ergonomic standpoint, that's a home run. The other thing that you might want to take a look at is the fact that these machines have echo modes. So if you're in a building that is LEED certified and you need something that's going to meet that LEED certification, you're going to be in great shape with the Dustbane series. They've got low decibels. You've got your echo, which is going to reduce the amount of energy, reduce the amount of water, reduce the amount of chemical going down those floors, all that are critical pieces of a LEED program in a building. So something you want to take into consideration, that's really, really important. The other thing that we do here a little bit differently at Dustbane is when you purchase any of our auto scrubbers, we have what we call our PM program. So when you register your warranty, in about 30 days, you're going to get a note from us just thanking you for your purchase and also letting you know that you're going to start to receive in regular intervals some tips and tricks and things that you need, like a checklist for preventative maintenance that's going to let Carter know that, hey, it's time for me to go visit this customer and help them with their squeegee blades. Because our squeegee blades are four-sided, you want to get that lifespan out of them. Make sure, again, that you're reducing that total cost of ownership by utilizing the machine, putting in the preventative maintenance so that you don't have big maintenance bills at the end of it.
Perfect. That was going to be my next question, is how often do we have to do upkeep and maintenance on the different machines behind you? How often are squeegee pads changed? How often are the scrubber pads changed out and different things like that? All different things that you can get through us here at PBJ when Carter helps maintain your equipment.
Absolutely. So every machine is going to be slightly different depending on who's operating it, what the space is like, and how often they're using it. Because a different floor surface, like something that's pebbled, if you've got concrete in a warehouse, may wear down a squeegee blade a little bit quicker than something like a VTC tile. So you want to make sure that you know what your application is so that you've got that right cadence for when you need to change out those blades, or your pad frequency. It's all going to depend on which type of pad you're using and which brand of pad that you're using. Not all pads are created equal. So you want to make sure that you're using the right pads for the machine for those right applications. You don't want to have a stripping pad on your machine when really what you want to be doing is cleaning the floor. So knowing your pads becomes really, really important. We've got some great guides to help you out with that too. If you go to our resource center or you reach into PBJ, they'll be able to give you our floor care maintenance guide, which teaches you all the tips and tricks for doing your floors, as well as our pad guide, which will really help direct you through those right pads so you can choose that right pad for that right application.
Perfect. That's great to know, because we hear so many times, we just got new floors. What do we need? We want to make sure we're not damaging them. We just spent X amount of money. And then people are like, what should I put in the mop and bucket for chemical? And I was like, nothing. Not if you're using a mop and bucket. Those floors aren't going to last very long. So this is great. If you're doing renovations, you're going to want to make sure to grab one of these machines to make sure that you are doing proper upkeep, because these are going to keep them in tip-top shape. It's going to help get into the grooves and grouts of the floor as well.
Yeah, so you definitely have some different options. You've got pads or brushes depending on the machine, which also does help you with that tile and grout application. But Caitlin, you just said something that's really interesting. You want to maintain your floors, but at some point in time, those floors are going to get dull, they're going to have some marks, and you're going to need to be able to take care of them. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to enjoy wet stripping a floor.
No.
Oh, well, you should try it out, because it's 3 hours of, sweating with the oldies. It is not a lot of fun. You're putting down a lot of chemical on the floor. You have many risks of slip, trips, and falls because it gets so slippery when you're using that stripper and you're using a polisher. You got 3 people doing that work, and there's so much involved in every step of that process. Now, imagine if you could take something that normally would take 3 hours to do about 600 square feet and have that done in under 20 minutes and ready to apply finish. One person, 20 minutes, applying finish, 3 hours, 3 people, and you've got humidity on your floor. You have a disaster. So we wanted to introduce you to a couple of things. So you know that we've got our Integra D, which is a great dry strip machine or great floor prep machine, but we also have that in our new Labrador orbital scrubber. So this 21-inch scrubber is a little bit different than the rest of the Labrador series. So the beauty of our Labrador series on our 21 and our 24 and 28 inch is all of the bodies are the same, but they have the ability to flip out the head. So if you did need to have an additional head for a larger application, you have that ability to do that. Or to service the equipment, Incredible. With the XP series, however, these two units are identical. They look nothing alike when you look at the bottom of them, but they are truly identical bodies. So basically, with the actuators on these two, you could change out the heads. Most people don't. They either go with the orbital, or you've got your cylindrical, which is a scrubber, as well as a sweeper and wet. So with the orbital, you've got a 20-inch head onto the machine. You've got 4-hour runtime on this baby, so it's good. You can do those floors, and like I said, under 20 minutes. So as you put pressure down, you've got water, you've got a pad on there. This is gonna basically be dry scrubbing your floor and removing all of that finish, or at least 2 to 3 coats per pass. So within 20 minutes, you're down to a fresh sealed floor and ready to apply finish. Because this is also running a little bit of moisture through here, you're removing any of that dust that you would have on your floor if you were just solely dry stripping. Now you're drying that floor in the same pass with your squeegee, and you've got that job done with one person in a fraction of the time. I don't want to do the math on that, but I believe that's significant labor savings that this probably pays for itself in probably two strips of the floor, and you pay for yourself.
Oh, exactly. I'm not very good at basic math either, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that those are great numbers to compare.
And you know what, if you really needed to do the math, we've got this beautiful thing on our website. So not only do we have cost and use calculators on all of our equipment, on all of our chemicals, we also have a cost calculator on there so that you can actually calculate the ROI for your customer, or they can do it themselves if they just want to plug in the cost for the machine, their labor rate, and how many hours it takes to do that. That's going to pop out with their return on investment. So a great tool to be able to use to see, is this something that's in my budget this year? If not, how do I explain why I need to make this capital expenditure? So we've got some great tips and tricks to be able to help you do that as well.
Now that's awesome. There's a lot of great things on the Dustbane website, and a lot of people always get weirded out by the word chemical. Whenever they hear chemical, they think bad, harsh, blah,
Right?
blah, blah, and forget that the entire world is made up of chemical compounds. So what are some of the environmental friendly options for chemicals that we can use with these scrubbers and the microfiber there?
Well, you know, I'm just going to take you for a little bit of a tour here as we just take a look behind us. So what we've got here is our full Eco logo line. So you've got a tremendous amount of options for you. So we have some customers that are more in this modular series. They want something that's going to be a super concentrate in a 2-liter with a lockable cabinet. They want an Eco logo, and this is going to give you a whole host of options that can take you through your cleaning program. You also have what is so important today as we're thinking about hand washing and the increase in hand washing. While that's going to add a lot of cost to your business, if you're using cartridge, you bet it is. If you're using the Dustbane line, well, we've got some great ways to be able to help you reduce your total cost of ownership. Ironically, our Tradition Plus is probably going to be the best one for you to have an Eco logo cleaner, a foaming hand soap that's really going to totally reduce those costs for you. So great alternative for you. And then you've got products that are part of our Give Meaning to Your Cleaning. So with each of these Eco logo hard surface cleaners, we're planting a tree on your behalf. So very nice program. We love that. I believe so far since we started the program of November 2019, I think we're at 137,000 trees planted by partners like PBJ. So great job by our distribution partners and our customers. We love that. We're watching the Dustbane forest grow, and it's very exciting to watch that program take off and really watch some of those mangrove trees starting to create that forest. I can't wait to see that 1 million trees in 2025. It's going to be very exciting. So a great lineup of cleaners. And the one that you just asked about, Caitlin, you were asking about what's great for your floors. Well, one of our personal favorites is probably the Film Away. Great time of year for Film Away from a number of different standpoints. This is our #1 neutral cleaner. Most people think about Film Away and they say, oh, it's great for salt and it's great for residue that you might get from any of the traditional ice melters. Absolutely right. It is excellent for that. However, it's a great all-purpose cleaner. I think it's our best. It's also a neutral cleaner, so it's about a pH 7.5. So very close to water from a neutral standpoint. So really nice to be able to use on your floors because you do get that great cleaning power out of it, but it won't be harsh on surfaces. So really nice option for you. And especially at this time of year, you can use it on both hard and soft surfaces. So if you think of your entranceway matting, as you guys are going out there, and we did have some snow this weekend, this is a great chance for you to find a product that's going to help get rid of some of that white residue that you're going to see in your carpets. So we really, really like that one. If you think film away is not for me, then Excelsior is a really nice option for you as well. Again, a neutral cleaner that is really going to help just get down some of that soil that's there. Now, are all soils created equal?
No.
Absolutely not. So there's going to be times where you're looking at your floor and you're saying, it's greasy. And then you try and use Excelsior on that greasy floor, and all you say is, it's greasier. Absolutely. All you did was move around the grease. You didn't break it down. So this is where we might want to move over to something like Emerald. Emerald's going to be a great option for you for your floors. It's a wonderful degreaser, very powerful. So a little goes a long way, and that's where you see your cost savings out of a product like Emerald. And then you've got the rest of your facility. So when you walk into your washroom, then you've got options. Or for disinfection, you've got OxyQ as well as Quat Plus in the Eco Logo line, and then a whole host of other ones that are not Eco Logo, but that are on the COVID-19 list, effective against COVID-19. So also very important as we think about what are we using in our facility. And you touched on it earlier, Caitlin, you said we're using a lot of chemicals. That everywhere there's chemicals being used. You're absolutely right. So if we can choose the safest alternative for our surfaces, our employees, and our customers, it's the best we can do.
Perfect. And just a reminder, when you're using all these chemicals, if you're somebody like me, I have very sensitive skin when it comes to different scents and different things in there. So it shouldn't matter. You should always be wearing gloves when you're using chemicals, mixing chemicals, and cleaning with different chemicals. And one of my favorite things when you mentioned soils was, I believe, I don't know if I have the acronym right, but you mentioned clean to the ABCs. Always begin cleaning. And that's what I tell everyone now. You got to do it alphabetically. Always begin cleaning. So CDS, you clean and then you disinfect or sanitize. So
that's right. That is absolutely right. The other thing that you just touched on, Caitlin, that I didn't mention with the Eco Logo line is what makes Eco Logo different than some of those other green certifications that you see out there, like Green Seal is one that's a US based. Our regulations in Canada are slightly different. So Eco Logo was really designed around a Canadian program. So within the Eco Logo program, we're not allowed to have any products that have scents. So if you are sensitive to scents, then the Eco Logo is a really important piece of that. Whereas with some of those other programs, what is designed to be eco is very different. So you may have eco defined as packaging. You may have eco defined as its pH. You may not have the same attributes. So it's always great to ask a few more questions to learn a little bit more about what you're using, and then checking out your dilution rates, because the dilution rates really can change things when it comes to what your total cost of ownership is.
Exactly. And it just makes me think about all the different places I've seen all these new chemicals and new hand sanitizers pop up in the past year. And then people are going, why are my hands breaking out in hives? And why am I covered in red stuff? Because you're probably not wearing gloves, and you're using something that's not been tested probably very well or trusted because it's new. Whereas Dustbane is a lovely Canadian company that we have been using for quite some time now. And all of our customers just rave about the different products. So it's good to know about all the different eco logo initiatives, the tree planting. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll have you back on in April for Environmental Day and environmental, and we'll talk about some more of that stuff, because we are living in a world where people want to be more eco-friendly, but they're just so scared of the word chemical and don't understand what it really means.
That's true. That's true. And one of the things that changed in 2021 is the new regulations around the use of single-use plastics. So people need to start thinking about some of the products that they're using and how they can get rid of some of those single-use plastics. So moving into a concentrated program, you might be looking at something like our Vanguard disinfectant. That's 405 ready-to-use bottles out of one jug. This is when people say, can I just get a sample? I laugh because this makes 41 4-liter jugs. So do the math on that. That's a lot of jugs of glass cleaner. If I was to give this whole jug to you as a sample, you have 3 years worth of glass cleaner right there. So it's always important to know what you're using. Not all things are created equal. So other pieces that are always interesting in the Eco Logo line is there's no ammonia. So in a lot of government facilities, ammonia is a banned substance for them to use. So some of those retail products that you're most familiar with as a glass cleaner or a hard surface cleaner contain ammonia, or they contain alcohols that are going to cause the product to dry much faster. So while that's great that it dries really fast, it means that you use 3 times as much. So really starting to think through, what am I using, how am I using it, and how's that affecting not only my people, but the environment?
Exactly. It's always very, very important that consumers are reading the back of their products, making sure that everything is diluted properly, and that you're letting it sit for the allotted amount of time. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting your money.
Absolutely. The labels are very beautiful, but while they're that pretty, you want to make sure that they're effective too. So read the contents of the label. You're going to find everything that you need on your label, from dilution rate, how to mix it properly. There's lots of tools on our website to help you with that. The right PPE that you need to use when using a product, because it's also something that folks often miss. Another thing that really comes up often is when it comes down to what temperature is the water I should be using. So if you think about when you buy cleaning chemicals off of the shelf at the grocery store, temperature. So is your chemical here. It's good. You don't need to be using hot water. All these folks that think that hot water is the way to go, what you're really doing is the hot water starts to burn that chemical and puts it all into the air. So you don't want to do that. You want to keep your chemical on that soiled area to make sure that you're really getting what you need done.
Well, that's good to know, because I have read different products where it says make sure to mix with warm water, make sure to mix with cool water. So always make sure. Everyone seems to think that they know what's going on, but it's always good to make sure that you read the instructions first and that you're using your product wisely, so you're going to get the best effects out of it possible.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, Shannon, we've talked about so much this afternoon. We've talked about floor care, floor hygiene. How much is your time worth to you? Doing the simple math, breaking it down, math that I can't do, but your website's got a calculator. So make sure
use those tools.
Exactly. Head over to the Dustbane website, make the website do the math for you. Check out a lot of different stuff they've got there, and then head over to PBJ Cleaning Depot. We'll be able to hook you up with all these great products. Carter's going to be here to help maintain and service any equipment that you do buy from us. Shannon, is there anything else that we didn't touch on you would like to mention today?
Well, there's so many more things that we can touch on, but I think we probably covered off an awful lot in today's segment. One thing that I think we should probably talk about down the road is what's been left behind in the marketplace. There is a gap in the market today for your wet vacs or your canister vacs, as known in the Jansan world, and PBJ has got a great lineup of our Target series to fill that gap. So let's think about that for the next time, and we can go from there.
Exactly. There's a lot of different equipment, not just floor equipment, that you can pick up from Dustbane. And it all has to do with how valuable your time is to you, and money saving and cost savings at the end of the day. So Shannon, hopefully we'll talk again a little bit more around Earth Day, and we'll talk about the different environmental friendly options that PBJ Cleaning Depot has to offer through Dustbane, all the different new ones that you guys have coming out. We'll get some accurate numbers on how many trees have been put into the ground. And then what was it again? It's 1 million by 2025.
Yeah, that's our goal.
I'm so excited to hear about that. We are going to do everything we can to help push 1 million trees into the ground here in Canada. So we're super excited to work together. And if you guys want to help plant 1 million trees, well, you know who to call.
Excellent. Well, on that note, Caitlin, the only last thing that I'm going to say is if you have customers that are coming to you and they're saying, Caitlin, I got to find some ways to drive cost out of my business, then let's get together. We'll get Carlos together with you, your team, your customers, and we'll get our site survey process up and running and help show those customers how PBJ can really help them drive that cost out of their business. So I'll leave you guys with that today. Thank you so much for having me join you. This has been a great afternoon.
Perfect. Thank you so much again for joining us, Shannon.